again, and welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba, and now that we are finished with our Halloween celebrations, the pumpkins have all been carved, the candy has all been eaten, or in some cases overeaten, and what comes next after Halloween? Why, well, Thanksgiving actually comes next, but what has traditionally now started to happen sooner and sooner every year is the introduction of the holiday season. And you know, a lot of people get upset at that and they say, oh my god, it's like we're seeing Christmas decorations up earlier and earlier. And I get that. I mean, I can understand why people might feel that way. I don't want to, you know, they kind of feel like we're putting too much of a rush on things. But me, I feel a little differently. I feel like, I feel like saying, you know what? The thing is this. Christmas is generally associated with a happy time for many people. And it's a time where people are a little bit nicer to each other, or at least should be. And maybe we think a little bit more about peace on your earth, okay, goodwill towards men and women. And I feel like, if that is indeed the case, then maybe it is, to take a line from a famous musical. I may be rushing things, but deck the halls again now. Trivia for those musical fans, it's actually from the song, We Need a Little Christmas from the musical Maine. So anyway, there we go. But I'm alright with bringing out the holiday season pretty early. In fact, over the last few years, my family has actually put the tree up during Thanksgiving weekend, which I know for many is very early, but we do so because for the last few years, it was because our daughter was in college, but was home for Thanksgiving, and she wanted to be part of the holiday festivities, so we said, well, and since she wouldn't get home after that until she'd go back to school and wouldn't be home until right before Christmas, we said, well, we might as well put up the tree during Thanksgiving weekend and bake cookies and do a lot of our holiday things. And we noticed something interesting would happen. When we did that, the rest of the holiday season seemed to be far less stressful. We enjoyed ourselves. We enjoyed the decorations. We enjoyed the tree, and we enjoyed the cookies, and we enjoyed all that stuff, and it had a leisurely, fun lead up into the holiday season. So, for that reason, I find that when you do start things a little early, you have more time to do things, and therefore more time to appreciate them. Excuse me. So, I am bringing out some of our first Star Wars themed holiday related items. And maybe you can tell by the boxes that who better to start with a little bit of Star Wars holiday cheer than with the Hallmark company with their line of ornaments. And they do beautiful ornaments year after year after year. So, and this is, I believe they said this might be the 20th anniversary of Star Wars ornaments. If not 20, maybe even further. It might be 21 or even 22 years that they've had Star Wars ornaments. And so many ornaments that originally I began a small tree. And that tree got filled. Every single branch got filled. Now, it wasn't just Star Wars, it was also Star Trek. I know. Don't turn the channel. It's okay. I liked Star Trek too. Although I have, since in more recent years, I've decided to scale back the Star Trek collection to just have a couple of the iconic ships and leave it at that. Because, I need more room for the Star Wars ornaments, let's face it. And that small tree turned into a secondary big tree, which I've shown in previous episodes. And now I've decided that, well, maybe the Star Wars unboxing studios needs a tree. So what I'm going to do over the next couple of days or weeks, next couple of episodes I should say, is after we get finished unboxing all the ornaments, we are going to have maybe we'll even try to do it live, a Star Wars tree trimming party live on YouTube. We'll see if that works, or Facebook Live, or some area where we'll put that up. So we're looking forward to doing that. We will get that done in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, we have to get the ornaments ready. So why don't we start with our new ones, okay? And we have 4. There's more than just this, but there right now are 4 ornaments that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so why don't we just leave them kind of... I have to say, I feel as though Hallmark was ready for they had their boxes almost designed for unboxing, because at this point, at this angle, it could be anything. You have no idea what they are. So we're leaving them all like that, and we will reveal one at a time. So why don't we start with this one, and I'm going to start with 2 ornaments these 2 which don't have batteries to them, okay? And that is this one. That is Boba Fett, okay? And it's a still action figure. I keep bumping into my poor cookie jar here. Sheesh. It's a still action figure ornament. I call it an action figure. Only in that it has a similar size and build to an action figure. But they are, you know, obviously designed by Hallmark concept artists. And they are sculpted and resculpted and secondary design and thirds design, and it's pretty cool. So this one looks as though we have a pose, and I'll try to get a photo of this one. I don't have, and I think about it, I don't really have a proper way to display this. I mean, you know, I could hang it on our tree, but I'll have to figure out a way to take photos of this still, but we'll figure something out. And this is obviously he's in a kind of a pre-flight pose, and he looks like he's getting ready to take off and shoot one of his wrist lasers. Okay, I'm not sure if this is. Well, let's see if this box has any art, any statement. I don't know if it does. I don't think it does. It just says Star Wars Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi. That's what I wanted to know. So this is his Jedi outfit. He's a little, you know, slightly different, a little more colorful. And right before he met his alleged demise by getting bumped by accident by Han Solo and bumping into the Jabba's sail barge and rolling into the Sarlacc pit. So we will see if someday that indeed stays the way it is, or if they're going to do something else. But this is an awesome sculpt of Boba Fett. Little heads up, be very, very careful when you are hanging ornaments. These are breakable, very breakable. Now they do, I've broken quite a few in my years, but they do get, you know, if you can find all the pieces, you know, Loctite glue or crazy glue can glue them together if you have a way to kind of clamp them so it has a few moments to stay in their position. They do work, and I've had that happen. So we'll rest Boba Fett down right here. Okay, and now we have this one. So the name of this one, this was called Boba Fett, which is easy enough. This one has a little bit of a more cute name. It's called Porgs of a Feather. And it's from Star Wars The Last Jedi, of course, and it features R2-D2 with a little bit, an assemblage of porgs that was on top of him or around him. A scene not seen in the movie, perhaps it was a omitted scene or an idea that they scrapped, but certainly makes a lot of sense that that might be the case if R2 was on that island with the porgs, and on the ship, the Millennium Falcon, with the porgs. So that's an interesting concept to see there. So there he goes. Aren't they cute? Oh my goodness. This one. Now a nice one about this is that you do not need some of these ornaments if they have a flat base like this. They can be displayed on a mantelpiece. They can be displayed on a shelf. They do not need a tree. They do not need any kind of hanging hook system. Okay, they simply need a spot to rest, and that's a good thing to have. Now, most of the Star Wars ornaments kind of, well, I would say they kind of go half and half. About half of the ornaments are the type that can rest on their base like this, okay, and the other half are the types that you would have to consider some type of a hanging system. So, very cute, like in the R2 with the porgs. All right, let's moving on. Now we have a light and sound ornament. We have C-3PO. Or I should say, the head of C-3PO, which makes me think of The Empire Strikes Back. This one, it says Star Wars, so I'm assuming that what we're getting instead is some lines from Star Wars. Now, there have been a couple of helmet series released in the last few years. I think we've had a Vader helmet, and we've had a few of them. Now, this does require a screwdriver to replace the battery, and I have noticed when I was in the store the other day, I noticed something pretty cool. I noticed, oh boy, this is very challenging to see which direction they go in. All right, what I noticed in the store was that they have what is essentially a battery replacement kit, which includes extra batteries and a screwdriver, like a mini screwdriver. Now I already have a screwdriver, but it's kind of nice if you can just go to the store and get the batteries you need, and you know, they're not like AA or AAA. Some of them, sometimes they are like AAA, but most often the time they're these smaller kind of this, I don't want to call them watch batteries, but they're definitely smaller batteries used for stuff like that. And the thing is, like, they go out. The batteries need to be replaced. So they're not that hard to replace, but I kind of wish that that Hallmark would get on the board with with some type of technology similar to that of the Force Link technology, where they could essentially set up an ornament that had an RFID chip that could make some noise with the addition of one item, like one thing on the tree, that as long as you were near that, it would do it. And that one thing would launch all the sound effects. All right, let's see what we got.
I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations.
Ooh, we have light up eyes.
They shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. This is madness. There'll be no escape for the princess this time.
Okay.
Don't you call me a mindless philosopher, you overweight blob of grease.
How many lines?
I'm going to regret this. R2? R2-D2, it is you. It is you. I suggest a new strategy, R2. Let the Wookiee win.
How many does he say?
I am C-3PO.
Okay, so he says about 6 items.
Relations.
Very cool. All right. And again, this one can sit on the mantelpiece. Okay. I kind of wish he was saying the lines from Empire Strikes Back, where he's like, "Oh no, I've been shot." Like he's just coming back to life when he realizes that. So really nice. I like the helmet idea. Another thing that's kind of cool the way they do it, they kind of release mini series. And when you can line up all your X-wing ones, you can line up all your TIE fighter ones, you can line up all your helmet ones, So that's kind of a neat thing. And then you can pick and choose. If you don't want to put everything out every year, you don't have to. I've been enjoying looking online, trying to find how different people display different things. Ooh, I forgot to actually show this one. Excuse me. All right, so on the box it says a rebellious rescue, and this is Princess Leia and Han and Carbonite. Leia dressed as Boushh. I remember like a storybook, a bounty hunter named Boushh. So I'm guessing Boushh. All right, and this is kind of like what I like to call a story ornament. It kind of tells part of the story, which I think is cool. Again, this one has a freestanding base there, if you can see here. So now people can very easily display it in any number of ways, which is cool. And once again, we have our 3 batteries, which I have to open up. This is one of my favorite moments. I'm a big fan of Han Solo, so even when when you started seeing previews for Star Wars: The Return of the Jedi, you got the hint. The things were getting. There was no internet. The only thing you could go by is like the storybook, or sometimes the soundtrack, or maybe the novelization. They did sometimes put the novelization out. So spoilers were just not as big of a thing. People wouldn't spoil movies. It just wasn't done. Most people weren't that in tune with it to know. Even me as a kid. I know some of my, some of the people on other podcasts that I listen to and other YouTube channels. They talk about Star Wars like as if when they were in their youth, it was like the only thing they ever did. I don't mean to sound like that they didn't have a life. I'm sure they did. But what I do mean to say is that, for me, it was like, from my own personal journey, I had the basic thing I had was 2 things. I had the Return of the Jedi storybook, which did, reveal a lot of information. And I had the trailers. And even the trailers, it wasn't like you could, you had to go to the movies to see the trailers. There was no other way. They weren't on YouTube. So, and it wasn't like people were going into the movie theater to watch. I'm sure some older people were, but us kids, we went to the movies when our parents went to the movies, and we would go to see the films that our parents went to go see. And if there just happened to be a Return of the Jedi preview, woohoo! That was like a bonus treat. It was like, wow, I was gonna go in and see this one movie, and I got to see the preview for Star Wars. Oh my God, that's so cool! But then it was, you were just, it came and went. And your brain, for me, it was 12. My 12-year-old brain was processing things as best as I could, but it was not easy. So what I was happy about, though, was seeing, in the storybook that Han Solo was going to be in this movie. It wasn't just going to be, you know, the carbonite block getting dragged everywhere. And so the scene in this movie when he gets unfrozen, I was really, really excited about. So Hallmark puts a little button on here. Let's see what we got. So it basically takes a whole scene and just kind of condenses it down to that one moment. I like the little effect of Han Solo's face turning red and the upper body. I think that was a cool little effect. I don't know how great it is that, you know, it's not actually, you know, melting and you're not seeing something. But what else can you do? I mean, it's an ornament. You got to remember that. So, you know, that's a nice thing. Again, the sculpting is great. I love what Hallmark does with their ornaments, not just with Star Wars. I love that they're doing this with all intellectual properties. I just think that people, you know, it's like anything else. You know, when you look at older ornaments, like old ornaments from when people were growing up. I mean, you know, everybody has a sentimental attachment, you know, and you know, a lot of times I remember growing up, my ornaments before Hallmark. Although my family, my extended family, runs a Hallmark store, so Hallmark has been in our life for, you know, 40 plus years. So, you know, I remember when the very first ornaments that Hallmark was creating came out. You know, the one when they made a rocking horse that apparently now is worth hundreds of dollars. You know, I remember that ornament. I remember the Kermit the Frog ornament that came out, or the Miss Piggy ornament that came out in the 80s. I mean, these were very, 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 it was a very long time ago. And maybe that's kind of kicked into high gear and as of late. I mean, I remember the other day walking in and I saw a Walking Dead ornament. And I'm thinking to myself, zombies on a tree, on a Christmas tree. I just don't know. But then again, that same Hallmark company made a Death Star that would say, "Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station. Fire at will, Commander," and then it made the explosion sound. So that doesn't say much about peace on Earth either as a planet-destroying weapon. So sometimes you just gotta embrace the absurdity. It's okay. But as pieces of collectible items themselves, they're really, really nice and they're really fun. And it is it is an expensive thing when you want to get these types of ornaments that are electronic, and they have not only do they have sound, but they also have lights, and it's not just one little thing. I mean, the very first one of these types of sci-fi ornaments that came out was the Star Trek Enterprise. And all that did was you had to plug it into, it had a little wire that you plugged into a light socket, you know, a Christmas light socket. You'd pull the bulb out and put that in its place, and it lit up. And that was it. That's all it did. The next year they came out with the shuttlecraft, Galileo, which is still to this day one of my favorite ornaments because it was the first time that you heard something in the form of a sound. I mean, it wasn't just a buzzing sound or something like that. It was a recorded voice of Leonard Nimoy, newly recorded at the time, that said, "Shuttlecraft to Enterprise. Shuttlecraft to Enterprise. Spock here. Happy holidays. Live long and prosper." I thought that was the coolest thing at the time. And, you know, those are going to be obviously ornaments that I will keep around. The rest of them, we'll see. Okay, we'll see. I mean, you know, there's a lot of them. There's a ton of ships. There's a ton of characters. So I'm going to go through them and decide. But the Star Wars ones, rest assured, they're all staying by. They're all going to be on the tree, either the tree upstairs or the tree that will be adorned here when we have our Christmas tree trimming party, whenever that is. So until then, we will have some more episodes with more ornaments along with a few other things. Once we hit the December month, we do have an Advent calendar from Lego. Although what I typically do with Advent is I just kind of go through them. You know, there's been a lot of people online that have put the whole thing together, and I think that's kind of cool. I might just do, you know, like, I might wait on the Advent calendar until like the week before and then just do either the whole thing in one shot, or maybe like the last 4 episodes leading up to the holidays, I'll do a week's worth, you know, 7, 14, 21, or whatever, like 6, 12, 18, 24. I'll do six at a time. I did that, I think, last year, and it worked a little better for me. So that will do it, okay, for this episode. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, let people know, hit the notification button about the YouTube channel, And check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Darth Tuba, and Darth Tuba's unboxing page on Facebook, and email me or leave comments if you have any questions or requests. I hope to get over into Target at some point in the next few weeks to when the holidays switch over, because they always have really neat holiday items to kind of go through. So until next time, we will see you soon, and enjoy the long holiday prep, and may the Force be with you.